All right, so I'm going to clone this project here. I click here, clone. If you have a problem, you can always change your HTTP and then I'll clone it here. So maybe git clone, right? Notice that in this project, I already have the pods file. It's later when you work in a company, you may ignore it because it's easier to review, but if you commit the pod file, it's so much easier to build. It's faster to build, and I don't have to do anything. So yup, starter. All right, so it already includes pod. So I'm going to open the workspace file. Okay. So in this workspace file, notice that they have ignore the test folder. Someone created this app with the test folder. But I'm jumping straight to the storyboard. Let's see what they have. And actually, they have nothing. Right? It's just a blank screen. So hold on. This is very hard to see because of the contrast. All right. So it's like that. So one thing you can notice here is that it's using auto layout. Now, in the past, I'm also teaching the concepts at the same time. In the past, we actually disabled auto layout, right? This time we don't. Now, you can also just turn this size classes off, and then you get the iPhone screen like this. That's one way to do it. Now, having size class allow you to build for different devices. If you want to keep the size classes, but you hate the square, because everyone hates the square, I do, and you can go here to the pen icon to the bottom top right over here. Click on this guy, and you can also choose the size. Infer. So let's say I have a 4.7 inch here, and that's for my iPhone screen. I like to build in iPhone 5s because that looks like the reasonable size. Anything else is just very big. Now, if I turn off auto layout, I want to explain a little bit. If I have something, I'm just gonna add a view, UI view. Here, it's a view. A view is very general. It's something just the most basic. But if you need to draw a line, how do you do it? Add a view and then put color to it. All right. So this view, I click on it, and here it's in white, so it's very hard to see. Let's set a color. Background. Let's choose maybe like a gray here. Gray color. All right. Now, if I turn off auto layout, which is like you have last time, I'm going to do that right now, and build. I turn it off here, right? And if I build this project, where's the project? Okay. So we don't have anything yet. All right, we have this view right here. It looks similar to this because I choose it to be the same size. Notice if I choose a different phone, it will automatically be very weird. And it will be bigger, and then this square is the same. If I do this, right, command left or right, you see that it only go to this, it keep the size the same. Before iOS 7, you can actually control this with this very fun stuff. You can actually say, well, constrain the margin, auto sizing it. This is called the strings and struts system. And then you can say, well, no, you see how when you resize, the white is the padding around the red thing, right? Different screen size, it follow. You can actually select this so that when the screen get bigger, the white space become bigger. But if you keep the margin, it will become like this. So with auto layout, we don't use this at all. When you turn on auto layout, again, if you really like, you can check out all these 8 arrows inside here. I'm not going to spend time on that. With auto layout, we actually have to define constraints. When you turn on auto layout, you see this at the bottom. We're not going to cover this stack view yet, but it's quite easy if you follow tutorials. In my curriculum, I only have currently these 3 things, 3 controls. For auto layout, there are many ways to control it. Actually, there are 3 ways. using these three controls. One, using the visual formatting language, which is another, and then there's another one that basically you can define a linear equation like between your width and your height, and it's pretty cool. But auto layout does it for you. So let's try to do something with this guy. Right now, I'm just gonna explain auto layout real quick. Is that if you don't add anything, you don't see any error. So auto layout here is auto layout, but it gives you some default values. That's okay, right? As soon as I give it some value, now you can. This is the one you use the most. It looks like a spaceship, right, in the middle. You can give it, like, say, the margin to the top. So I do 8. I turn this off. If you have a question on this one, I'll answer right after this. So I do 8 here, and I can turn this on. It means I have this square, right, position at the top left, 8 and 8. Add this 2 as constraint, and I see this red color. Why? Why do I have this red color? Does anyone know? Just guess. Maybe the position is not correct, right? So this is not really 8, and it's just complaining. Well, when it's red, it also say, well, now that you give auto layout a constraint, it need enough constraint. It doesn't guess anymore, right? It say, no, you only give me 2. Do you think it's enough to print the square? No, because it doesn't know my width and my height, right? So usually you need maybe at least three constraints. This is for UI view. UI view, I already have, if I click on this guy, and you click the ruler on the right hand side here, you see the constraints, okay? If you click on this guy over here, you see the constraints over here, but this is very hard to see, right? It's only 2 constraints, you can see it, but it gets pretty crazy. So now, for square, for UI view, you can actually add another constraint. Notice when you add it, you add a new constraint. You can add a new constraint to the top. It's not overwriting an old one, right? So if I add 8, you will have 2 8s. Okay, so let's add one more over here to the right. It's another 8. That's one way, right? Add one more constraint, right? I turn off this margin again very quickly. So now it becomes yellow. So yellow here means, it's a warning. Yellow is easier to fix. Well, you see yellow, don't just run your code, because when it say yellow, it means your code, your storyboard will not look like that when it runs. And then you can click here and it will say yellow is, the constraint still not there. Yellow here is quite simple, right? If you resize this to the right and it's 8, then the yellow will be gone. So there's one more, it's still red here because I need something at the bottom, right? I don't have to do bottom, maybe I do a height constraint that is a 200 pixel. So that's quite easy. Now everything is yellow. So if it's yellow, you can click on it over here. Look, click on this this icon. It shows you the structure of your layout. These are the layers, right? And in this layer, there's a thing here to say warning on your layout. So you click this and it say, well, expected this to be, you expected this coordinate to be 8, right? And then you expected, and it's actually 20, so you can click here. Now here's for us to understand 2 things. You only care about 2 of these options. Update frames or update constraints. Frames are the thing that's around our layers, right? Our UI view and all of that. What are the constraints? Constraints are this little arrow around it, right? Like the lines. So if you update constraints, what do you think will happen? All these numbers become real number and they're no longer yellow, right? If you update, it just means update frames means my constraints are correct, right? When I say update constraints, means my frames are correct. So in this case, I know my constraints are correct. So I will update frames, right? So I say fix. So that's one way to do it over here. Click fix. It's the same as going down here right? You click on the elements. If you sometimes you're just working with this guy, this UI view, and then you click down here. Now this is important. Don't use anything more than just these two guys, right? You don't really need it. Auto layout is very smart, but if you ask Apple to help you with all these other things, it tries to be smart. It adds you all the constraints you don't want. So just go, and here I really want to update the frames because my constraints are correct. So boom, it looks like that. It's perfect, right? So imagine if you add a button at the bottom, right? So then you can also do something like that. Add a constraint to the left. Now I don't need this up here. How do I add a button here that is like at the bottom? Does anyone know? We haven't used this, so let's use it. I add this and I click on this guy, the third one. But again, don't use anything. Usually, if you're not sure, don't use any of this. Just use only either you put it horizontally in the center or vertically in the center, right? That's useful enough. Sometimes you think, oh, it's so great if I click this guy and then I, shift click this guy, two guys, and I add the constraint that is like two guys have the same center. That's okay, right? But there are other ways to do it too. If you do it this way, and sometimes your other constraint will conflict and it sucks. So again, I'm showing you this just because I'm trying to simplify. We just do this horizontally in container. You add this constraint. All right, that's good. That's a constraint, but it's bad because it doesn't really know where the button should be vertically. So I add another constraint, but not here. I'll add it. I'd say at the bottom is 20. Okay. So I've been checking this off. I really hate this thing, constraint to margins. But after iOS 7, they added in iOS 8 they add constraint to margins. Before there was no margin. I think in Android you still don't really have margin, but Apple decided, okay, now let's have padding and margin. So when you do constraint to margin, some of this UI view, UI elements actually have margins, and then automatically it gives you the margin to it. If you always turn this off, your default margin is actually 8. As in, it's good to use 8. You look at this. I just use 8, right? To the left, to the right. If I add something and I don't use 8 in margin, sometimes it gives me 8, sometimes it gives me 20. So I don't like that, right? If I add a table view, I will show you later. I don't use margin, but sometimes it's useful. Okay, so here, I click here, and I just need to care at the bottom. Now let's say this time I use a margin, this constraint. If I put 0, may turn off, right? It just changes something else. So usually it's like 20 if you put it like this. So let's see, 0, and then constraint to margin, add that, right? So it say, well, this is too big. It should be down here. Now, actually, Apple doesn't really have a margin at the bottom here, so it looks like it's gonna be here. So that's not what I want. So I can click on this element, go to the ruler, and go down here. I can remove that constraint, or I can edit it to be something, right? Like a line, and then this bottom space, it's saying nothing. Let's just delete it. It's confusing because earlier it's just saying, with margin, constraint to margin. So I turn this off, I put 20. Easy. I know it's like 20 pixel, and I click here, update frames. Done. So if I build this, I have a button, right? And now you see that it looks the way I want it, right? So that's why auto layout is really beautiful. So of course, if you change to React Native, you like something else, even better. Flexbox, even better. All right, so let's build this homework. Now, with this homework, the first thing we do is just to see what the starter project gives us, right? I actually build this, and I see that I have some log file here. Oh, it uses the Yelp API to give me the list of restaurants. Let me check my controller. Oh, it's good. It's tied to my business view controller. Okay, so what is this business view controller? I click on this Venn diagram, and then I'll see what the code is. Well, it's not doing anything. It loads the businesses, and then, oh, here it is. It creates a class, right? It's a class, it's a model, business model that provides you a class function, a search with term, and then after that it loads the businesses here. Very good. So it print the businesses for me. So first thing I'm going to do is to just display it, similar to our Rotten Tomato thing. So we try to be really fast here. So let's delete this guy. Let's add a table view. All right, so here's now you're no longer bored. Let's go very fast. Table view, drag to the guy over here. But now you know auto layout. So you click on this. Let me remove it. Auto layout is going to be like this. A lot of time for your table. Turn this off. Put 0, 0, 0, and 0, right? And then add 4 constraints. Done, right? Well, you have a shortcut here. You click on this table view. And then you click update frames. Perfect. So I have a table view. Now I do a table view cell. So this table view cell usually is not enough space, so I drag it out a little bit. Let's start naming this guy, okay? So this is a restaurant business cell, right? So let's name it business cell. Click on this guy, business cell. Let's see if I have business cell. Model is where the Swift object is, right? It's no longer NS dictionary. View, I don't have a business cell, so let's do it, right? I create a business cell, but I need to put it in view. So I notice that I don't have views. Let's create a new group for view. Hey, if it's anything, and please stop me. It's getting fast so that I can cover other topics, but it's most important that we all understand. So I have a new class here. I'm going to call it a cell, right? I'll call it a business cell. Okay, so go back to storyboard. Let's turn on this and we start getting straight to business. Go to this table view, drag into this guy up top here. Let's call it table view. Before you type, always look at this type. Sometimes you drag the wrong thing. It can be a pain. You know, it happens to me before too in class last time. So UI table view, connect. That looks good. Let's connect the cell as well. So I have a cell here, view cell. I click over here and find a business cell. Right? I also remember I need to do the identifier. Let's name it the same thing, business cell. So I can reuse it, right? Now in my controller, I want the table view to work. So let's start coding the table view. So business view controller. This time I just remove all the code I don't need, okay? So it's easy to see. I don't care about all of this, anything that's, all right. So you just have a view did load function, right? So in the past, you can add more method up there, but maybe it's cleaner to do business view controller. It's called extension, right? Businesses view controller, and then this is where you do table UI table view delegate. Oh my God. Well, it's trying to slow me down, right? So it's good. UI table view delegate, and what's happening? All right, UI table view data source. So this is quite easy to see. Now, sometimes it's actually faster for you because you write this so often. I actually have done this. I copy and paste this, copy this, and I drag to click on this. This is a snippet, okay? And you drag this down here and becomes a snippet. So in the future, you can just, in this snippet, you can actually define a shortcut. So let's look at this snippet. I have this already defined, and my shortcut is TBV. So I'm going to do it. So here, I've typed TBV, boom, right? So now I have that. I just need to do table, what's that? This is businesses. And down here, what is my businesses.count, right? And down here, reusable is business cell as business cell. Looks okay. And I return this cell. Sounds good? So what do you think will happen if I run now? Well, nothing happened because my table view is not tied to it yet, right? You cannot declare variables inside extension. It's this function, so you have to declare a variable up here, right? So table view delegate itself table view dot data source itself. All right, so if I run this now, it will crash because it will try to render table view, right, by asking this count. But what happened? I get the businesses here, but this happened in the background, right? I will try to count faster, right? So there are two ways for you to do this. One way is to define a businesses as empty, right? And then you add more to it. Another way, like we did last time, which is also nice, just make it optional. So here right now is still nil, right? Down here, when self.businesses, now my businesses is a list. It's an array of businesses. So then down here is, if it's nil, then businesses.count will be nil. And so I do this. I use this quick shortcut, right? It means if businesses is nil, you don't do .count. You just go straight to 0. All right, let's run this. So I have a few businesses, and I load this. So I have a table, but my table doesn't contain anything. Let's add to it. So I'll go to storyboard. By now, all of you are like, this is so easy. My homework 1. All right, so let's add something, right? Image. Why don't I see image? Because you have to change it to this doc, and then let's put an image. Now this is where we learn more about table view and auto layout as well. So my constraint here, I like this thing over here because it's easier to click. It's like a layer doc on your Photoshop, right? And under this business cell, you can have to click this cell if you want to resize it. I put this thing inside it. How do I select the image? See, it's so hard. And I put it inside here. And you already know we're using auto layout, so let's do that. Now, again, you can try to use this. This just means that you can put 0 and that's the margin. But if you just only want to remember, usually it's 8 pixels between for the margin and padding, then it's okay. I turn it off, and now you can click on this little thing, okay? When you click on it, it will show you what it thinks is your neighbor or your parent. Sometimes, if you don't see it, you have to move your element so that it can guess. It's okay, right? So content view here is actually, content view is something inside the cell. So if I say 8 pixel to content view, it means I have 8 pixel to this white thing up top. I have another 8 pixel to the left, right? Is that enough? No, let's make something cooler, actually width and height of an image. I know it's a square, so let's put it like maybe 64. I don't know what's the best. Maybe is it 100? I don't know. So we'll change it later. But you add these 4 constraints, and your image looks like this yellow area. Again, you can click on this and then fix it, or you can click down here. Up to you. But read it carefully. Update the frames because you know your constraints are correct. Okay, that looks fine as my business. So let's add the next thing. It's a label. Now this is hard. A label is different from a UI view or UI image. UI image, you have to tell it X, Y, and width and height. A label, you don't have to tell it width and height. Why? Because that's why it's hard. Because it guesses, and if it guesses wrong, your label will looks really funny. So let's see. So you have to understand this is called intrinsic dimension, right? Intrinsic height and intrinsic width. So a label, it's like, font is this size, so height has to be this size, right? So I'm going to add 8 pixel to the left, but look at this. I can actually choose image view to be my left. So yes, it's always 8 pixel to the image view, and it's 8 pixel to content view, right? The one at the top. So I turn this off. I have 8 pixel here and here. Looks like it's okay. So I add this constraint, and then see, it doesn't complain. Because it's like, okay, I'll grow when you need it. So you already know you can make it grow down by setting the number of lines to be 0, right? So far so good. You guys no one stuck? Okay, just feel free to ask questions, guys. Like, all right, so I have this is a restaurant name, so maybe we call it like, what is the good restaurant name here? Wan Ngon, right? And then you're like, oh my god, now this happened. So then you like click here again and update frames. Okay, so looks like it's okay. If I render this, maybe I can start seeing something, right? Why is it not here? Do you guys know? Well, there's one more thing. When after you do businesses view, you guys, there are many reasons why it doesn't show, but down here you have to do self dot, because it's in the closure, the block here, you need self dot table view dot reload data. So then you actually have it's rendering out cells. So then you're like, okay, good, this is my image, it's nothing in this guy. All right, I want to use the businesses to display. That's easy. Let's go to storyboard. You also have done this before, so some of you are probably shaking your head and say, why is he doing this? So I'm sorry, we'll finish very soon. So let's look at this guy. And I drag, now be careful here. I drag this guy image. I have to make sure this is my automatic and it's going to business cell. Right? Drag in here, we'd call it like, pick image view. Because it's in the table view cell, don't call it image view, right? It will be this, it will be the same variables as someone else. See, if you drag now, like, it's the wrong object. So escape, go back, click on this guy one more time. It's become hard to click on it, click twice. Choose the right cell, and then drag this guy over. What do you call it? Maybe restaurant name, right? So it's name label, right? So far, so good. Okay, so now here's when you start doing things with more model. I actually do it here. Var businesses, a business. Each cell is for one business, right? Is that okay? And then you go back to your businesses view. Down here, this cell over here, you know you have index path, right? We already know that. So let business equals businesses. I have this guy, and well, I know it has some value down here, and then it's index path dot row, right? Huh? Businesses. Okay, so and then what do I do next? You actually can assign it to this business. Sounds okay? Well, technically, you can also do what's that? I know, yeah. So we'll try. Technically, you can do cell dot pick dot. So I'll do it right here. So you should actually do it in view did load over there. Okay. So let's do it over here. So let's do business dot image URL and cell dot what's that, name label text as business dot name. All right. So that's the recap. But why is it not happening? It has to be wrapped, right? So I just wait. What's happening? Oh, this image URL may not be there. Okay. So far, sorry, it's recap. Okay, we have this. Now we need to add a search thing, right? To be similar to this guy. So first I have to embed it in a view controller. So I click this guy and I go to, you don't see it, I click on editor, embed in, navigation controller. So I have this. Now you notice you can actually click here instead of setting the title. You just click here, I just can set the title right away. What do you call it? Like maybe businesses or name of the app, right? Next, we want to add a button to the bar. So I add this button here. You can actually use either button or bar button item. So maybe button item will look better. All right. There's a strange bug here, but let's name it filter. Now I want this filter to be pop up, right? So let's create a new view controller. Let's put it down here. Okay. And this view controller, when you click on the button, I click on this button, control click, point to this guy, and notice down here, right? You can do a push if you're not a navigation controller. You can do, but here what we want is we do model, so it pop up. That sounds okay? So let's try. So I have a button just with storyboard. Beautifully, I have this filter thing. If I click it, right, it goes up there. Now, I need to have something like this filter thing. So, okay, we need another navigation bar. But I'm not using navigation controller. I just use directly navigation bar. So navigation bar, drag that here to the top. Looks fine. So maybe you call this filter, and we add another bar button item. Right here, this is cancel. So cancel, it means go back to the previous one. So our controller, now we have to have a new name for it. Let's create a new controller, right? Make sure it's source, Cocoa Touch, same thing, but UI view controller. Don't use UI table view controller. We don't really need it, but when you get better, you can feel free to play with it. So I call this filter. Is that okay? Filters, filter, okay. Is it filter? Okay. Filter view controller. Sounds good. Now let's make sure that this is tied to my storyboard. So I click on this guy and go down. Right, click on this. Filter. What else do I need to do to show things? All right, that's it, right? So I need the cell because I want to show you like the table view, how crazy good it is. So let's do it real quick. Table view. Now again, you use auto layout. By now it's pretty easy for you. Oh no, click this, it's gonna mess up. I hate it. Okay, so click N. I think, yeah, that's it. Add the constraint. So that's, did I make it disappear? Okay, I added the constraint, and then I thought I clicked the shortcut. What happens to the constraint? So when you debug, click here, 0, 0. See, sometimes it's just crazy. So I just like, remove them. I think the problem is with the title bar. So we'll see. Click here. I just remove. Oh, sorry. All right. I just can also click on this and then delete. Oh my God, it's like so much work. Okay. Let's just put it up here and then maybe add the auto layout automatically for this guy. That's fine. When you add here, turn off constraint, it's already 0 because that's where it is, right? And then this time it's no longer with the title bar. So let's make it all, so sometimes if you put it in the right place, it's easier to add a constraint, right? Now let's add a cell to it. So this time I'm going to call this guy, oh, this is tricky too, right? You have a title bar, so this cell, drag it down, and we call it a filter cell. And I want to add 2 labels to it. One label is called property, like, sometimes you search by this later. And let's add it to the right place for the constraint. And then I add a switch. All right, right place for the constraint. So constraint for this guy, again, it actually have intrinsic height. You only need to care is top right and top left. Again, you can do like either constraint. You see how that is 8 and 0. So if you just like the constraint stuff, it's 0. So I put that as 8, and then that's enough. That's green. This guy, I put it at the right position, also very fast. I just want to see what it is. So that's cool. Later, you will have to learn how to make 2 labels deal with each other, but that's in the video. So what I want to show you is how powerful table view is, and then I may not have time for it, but we'll see. All right, so let's build this. But of course, it doesn't work yet. Let's make the filter view controller work. I do the same thing with table view, right? TBV. And then down here is the same class. And then down here, maybe I can just make it 40 times. And down here, switch cell. So let's call this, what do I call it? Filter cell. Because in each cell, I give it a filter option, right? So filter cell. Okay, we have to add something here. But let's add a table view object, an outlet. So I have this, drag into, when I click on this table view, it should go back to, you have to make sure that it goes to your view controller. Notice this dark color, it's not saved, so sometimes Xcode can be a little tricky, weird. So that's table view. What else do we need to do? table view dot delegate. Now you can also do these two lines in the storyboard, but up to you, right? So data source is self. Sounds good. Do we have the filter cell method? Yeah, no, right? So let's create a new filter cell UI view cell, UI table view cell, right? So I call this filter cell. Filter cell. All right. So maybe I can build this. So I've been coding a lot without building, and I see some errors here, and then it succeeds because Xcode is catching up with us. So I do filter, right? Well, right now it's a crash because it doesn't know how to dequeue this cell, right? So go to storyboard, click on the cell, table view cell here, name it, filter cell, and give it an identifier, filter cell. Now I want to make it interesting. The under filter view controller, I want to display cell dot that property thing, right? It means we have to put the property in it. Let's do property. Where's my property? It's right here. All right, drag this guy into my cell. Almost there, guys. So property label, and then switch, because it's an on-off switch, so you can call it on switch or like on-off switch, whatever, up to you, right? Again, it's an outlet. That looks good. Okay, well, now go to filter. Down here, I can say let cell dot on-off switch. Let's set it to true. Cell dot what is it? Property label text. Let's see, like property. We will do it the same way as last time. Row index path row. So I want to show you something here. Hopefully it works. Can this line go away? I need to do dot active or dot on. Okay, this is a switch dot on true. Okay, let's build this. All right. So we have a list of filter, right? Now notice we have to learn this, right? If I turn 0 off, what happens? If I scroll down and I turn 3 off, so I only turn 0 and 3 off. I scroll, right? And I keep scrolling. It all should be true, right? Wait. Wait, hold on. Let me make it smaller. Table view here, let's say row height. Let's set it to maybe 50. Oh, I shouldn't set everything to true down here. So let me do it again. Don't do it true here, obviously. Let's use the default. Okay, we'll see. So every time you that's like that. So let's say I do 0, 5, and I scroll down. You see this? Weird stuff happening, right? Because it's like, I think it's some from 0 and 3 earlier too. So it's just start mixing up. So now we need to learn more advanced stuff. So this is principle number 1. Table view is excellent because it reuse things. It's good for the memory. It re-render this. Now, but rendering table view is expensive because the height is very difficult. So first thing here is that in homework 1 you use row height, right? Now you have to use auto layout. In the past, you have to use a function called table view height for row at index path. That was before this one. And in the past, if you build this, you have to calculate it yourself, right? You have to return a number, a CG float number. But from auto layout in iOS 7, you actually set this. You can actually do this. Row height is UI table view automatic dimension. So that's the most wonderful thing. So, but if you want Apple to be efficient, you have to tell it the estimated height. So let's put it like 50 so that the scroll bar will work and then things will be better. So that's table view, right? So the next thing is to store, sorry, it's 9:01, I'll use a few more minutes. So the next thing is to store the switches, right? So how do we do this? So before I render 40 things here, let me just store a variable here. So I for maybe like statuses, like maybe var, what do you call it? Statuses, of flags, right? Maybe it's easier. Let's say I make it a Boolean. So with Swift, you can do this. Well, what does it mean? I create an array of Boolean and it's empty, right? I just declare it. Down here, I want to declare like 40 billion. No, I mean not 40 billion. 40 Boolean, right? Yeah, 40 billion. It's great. So with Swift, you can actually do this. Let's say from 0 to 39. So let's say 0 to 39, so less than that. And then let's just create like, let's create, I don't care what this number is. It's in variable, so maybe X. But what I want to do is every time I just add a number to this flag. So I push like maybe true to it. That seems okay. And you can make it shorter by doing like, this is Swift if some of you like. Okay, so basically now I have like 40 Boolean to flags, right? Maybe a pen. I just pretend that like, okay. So then I have 40. That's great. But then I want to be able to store, remember? So every time I click to a switch, I need to store it. It's okay, go back to storyboard. This switch, now I need to give it an action. So in addition to the outlet, you can actually drag the switch over here. No, you drag it to cell, right? And don't go. Click on this guy, automatic cell. It's tricky. Make sure you drag here, and then you do it action. So here you can say on switch, right? Toggle or something like that. I don't know, like on switch action, right? And it's weird, but Apple doesn't do it for you. It doesn't matter. You don't really need the types. Sometimes you do, but it's the same. You just cast it. So here's my action. So every time you turn on the switch, what do I need to do? It's a status, right? A flag. So I need a var flag Boolean here. Oh, this is tricky, right? So basically every time this is called, what do you call it? We'll just say switching. And then this is basically, it's always true. So with Swift, you don't just do that. And every time this happens, you just basically flip it. Okay. Like that, right? See, okay? Yeah, right? And switch, and maybe then when you display, filter, then we have the video for this. So my apology if it's too fast. So this will be, what is this value? No, so this is our on-off switch dot on equals to cell dot flag. So now it remembers in there. But notice the filter controller has no idea. So you need to be able to pass the variable from inside to outside. So I do this. Now I click 0, 2, 5. Right? This is still happening, right? So we need to fix this. So it's displaying by calling this flag, and it's reusing the cell. So I need to somehow, every time you, so here again, I can do flash.count now. But we haven't done anything to this flag thing at the controller level. When you switch, I need to set the value. So here's index path. So where's that? Where's the cell? When you select on the cell, okay, so you want to know the cell of this guy in this is the important function, table view dot index path for cell, so that it know where it is in my list of flag, right? So this is my cell. Yeah, which is so I can use this in index path, right? So in some cases in your maybe delegate function. So here let we have to toggle the cell dot flag, right? So here will be flags index path dot row, right? You have to change the value here. Does it make sense? So initially I have this array of like 40 true, and now when I go here I just change it. So let's forget about this guy first. Index path dot row. All right. Does it look right? So every time you switch, it remember, And then when you switch this switch, now true and false should work. So in your filter form at home, this is like you have to keep all the properties here. So if you can do the search, you can filter by A, B, C, D. So let's see. Initially it's all off. Why? Why? Let's see, right? I need to handle that. Okay, let's click on this. So I have this like, switching, right? Do you think it will work? Yes. So how do I do it? So the controller doesn't know. Right? This is because I ran out of time. So I'll make a video explaining how to use delegate. To pass the information from the cell to the controller,